Valley. My name's Cindy Masters and I'm an alcoholic. And because of the grace of God, some simple actions in this program and both sides of sponsorship, I've been sober every single day in a row since December the 17th, 1985, which means Friday is my birthday. And I don't know that I'm excited about it. I'm always in disbelief. I'm like, wow, look what God did. You know, Allie and I have this like mutual love fest. I do love you, Allie. And I think the place that I have related the most to Allie, which is why this step is so critical for me, is when Allie describes his brokenness that he came to you with, he describes the brokenness I came to you with. You know, just a shattered, broken, hollow human being. And it's funny, Tina A spoke for me at my home group before this, and she gives such a powerful talk, and she's so amazing. You know, she shared about some of the broken times in recovery, and the brokenness that she came to us with. And I think that that's I think no matter what level bottom we have or whatever, it's that brokenness that, but I, like Tina, she described in her talk, that problem with that word God. And boy, did I have that. And boy, am I amazed that we have a meeting on the 11th step. This is one of my favorite meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a meeting on the 11th step that gets this many people every Tuesday night, you know, because, you know, we're seekers and I'm a seeker. I'm not much of a finder. So I just want to say that right now. And that I've never found any magic in finding. All right. The magic comes in the seeking. And today I still cannot describe what God or my higher power is to you. So I want to say that to anybody that might feel like I felt, which is like, wait a minute, that word represents all of these scary, judgmental, crappy things. Because that's not what that word represents to me today. That word represents love and kindness and you. Because I was told God as we understand him, and all of you understand him a little bit differently. And so I took a little bit from every one of you. And that's kind of what my higher power is. And when I focus on God, God changes. So who I thought God was last year is much bigger this year. And I absolutely believe that God will be much bigger next year than he is this year, because I continue to seek. And you don't have to believe what I believe. I don't have to believe what you believe. And again, we still have in common that we believe. That's the thing that only happens in AA. You can be believing in something completely different than what I believe in, but if we'll just believe, we get the same thing. It's crazy. There's nothing I like to talk about more than my relationship with God. And again, I'm a seeker. I have, I don't know, there's like 4 ceiling bookshelves on either side of me facing this way. One side has all the religious books of the world. I'm talking about all of them. I'm sure I'm missing some, but you know what I mean, from all the different religions and all the different things. And because I'm a seeker, and then this side is all AA books, all AA books. And they all have some things in common. You know, I picked this reading because there's a direct linkage among self-examination, meditation, and prayer, because that is the 11th step. The 11th step is self-examination, meditate, and pray. And those of you that have heard my story know that that meditation was so intimidating to me when I was early on. I couldn't be still. You know, when I would be still, it would be so painful because I got this firing squad in my head telling me what a piece of junk I am. And I didn't have enough of the self-examination and enough of that out of the way for me to be able to be still and at peace. And so my first meditation tool was a Harley Davidson, because I could feel God in the wind. And that's what I mean by God will meet us wherever we are. All we got to do is want to meet him. Doesn't have to be in any formula. It just takes a desire. It only takes seeking, at least for me. And praying, I think praying is an art form. I do. And I think that when I was early, my prayers were, they were probably the most authentic prayers I ever had. Because they just were. I think that we can survive on any two of these three. Survive. I can survive praying and meditating every day. I can survive on praying and self-examination. I can survive on self-examination and meditating. But the magic happens in the trifecta, as it's described in the book. You know, the trifecta of being willing. I need courage, especially at as long a sobriety as I got now. I have to have courage to truly and authentically self-examine. It's more painful to self-examine today than it has ever been in my entire being, because I still have hit the glass ceiling of humanness. And I have this unfortunate kind of thing inside of me that always wants to be better. I always want to grow. And when I am less than my best self, the disappointment I have in myself is grave. And so without a relationship with something bigger than myself that I can trust, and trust that even being less than my best self has some purpose and some usefulness to it, it's just very painful. And it's why it says in the 11th step later on, be careful not to slip into morbid self-reflection. Don't beat ourselves up, basically, when we look at ourselves. The other thing I love about this self-examination, unlike the 4th step, is this self-examination also takes toll of what am I doing right? So in the 11th step, I begin to see, and I look at, like, you know, for a long time, how not to react at work. And so I get to look and say, wow, today, that thing that I mishandled last year, I handled differently today. Now that's not braggadocious, and that's not arrogant, and that's not even self-centered. It's like, thank you, God. Because my aspirations are so different. My aspirations, because the only thing that really gives me joy is being connected with you and being connected with God. It's the only time I feel whole, and it's the only time I feel complete. And part of what's happened for me in recovery is I have this ridiculous life. I mean, ridiculous. Somebody like me that was homeless, that came off the streets, that didn't go to high school. I own 3 businesses. I have businesses that do business globally. They're obstacles to my happiness today. They're not a source of my happiness at all. They're a source of revenue, but they're not a source of happiness or joy. That happens with you, but it pulls me. It says, you don't have time to be still with God this morning, Cindy. You don't have time to be still and connect because you have this meeting and you're blank and blanks calling you and they need this and this and this. And guess what happens if I don't make my calls? I take calls with my sponsees before I go to work. Why? I'm too busy to take those calls. Why do I take them, and why do I take them in the morning? First of all, I'm at my best, and I want you guys to have my best. I want you guys to have my best, not work. I also want to remember what matters most before I start my day. And in order to have that call with you, I got to get up earlier so that I can get centered and so that I can get my energy to hear instead of I wake up really out loud. You know, I'm like, boom. And so in COVID, and I talked about this last time I was here. In COVID was such a gift for the 11th step for me because I was isolated and I had more time. And, you know, I've always liked music and I've always played at music. And I took up Native American flute during COVID. And so I play that in the morning. And sometimes during COVID, I play for an hour and a half because I would have that much free time before my calls and before work. And it would bring my energy to here because it focuses on breath. And so by focusing on breath, think about what gives us breath. it's God, right? And when I focus on breath, I'm not focused on me. I'm focused on breath. And I'm focused on playing God's music. And then when I get still enough, and that is a form of meditation for me. Everybody gets to meditate however they want. I've tried the Om Kumbaya. Okay, the Om Kumbaya for me gets a lot of thinking involved. And meditation and thinking are not good. So I need to not think when I meditate. And when I play that flute, I don't think. I don't think. I feel and I experience breath. So I encourage everybody, discover your flute. It may not be a flute, it may be something different, but whatever that is to you that lets you instantly get your energy from here to here. And then if I get all stressed out, I can come play one of my flutes and it'll do that for me again. Then I am ready to have a conversation with God. See, until my energy is here, I cannot have a conversation with God because I'm probably going to talk at God. I'm probably gonna demand. I'm going to have all these ideas. So my ideas have to be here so that I've meditated enough to be able to listen to God. And I believe in two-way conversation with God, but not the popular thing that's going around right now. Which that's, I think, is great. I think that's great, but that's not what that means to me. Two-way conversation for me means that I put it out there. God, what would you have me do? What would you have me do? And that I then listen. And I wait. Because and I always talk about this, and I'm sorry for being redundant, but I haven't changed my mind about it. So we have a perfect listening device, every one of us. I think it's right about here. And I always envision, the cartoons with the tin can and the string. That's like me and God. And if I'll get still and I'll be still to right here, and when I put that out, God, what would you have me do? I'll hear perfectly. And if I'm willing to do what I hear, I'll have pretty much peace and happiness. Now, I don't know about you all, but I love to override that. Because I can't tell you how many times that little answer I get, it's not exactly what I was hoping for. And so I'll be like, well, God, I haven't heard you yet. When I've clearly heard, you know what I'm talking about. You know the time when because we always have it. See, if I want to hear God, I will hear God. And I'll know. I have a knowing. I have a knowing when I connect with God. But I don't always really want to. I say I want to. But sometimes I really don't want to hear it if it's not exactly what I was hoping for. And so my challenge in later recovery is to be acutely aware in this self-examination about where I do that I don't continue to override that nearly as often. That I trust that when I get this, when I ask, which for me is my prayer, when I ask God, what would you have me do? Not for what I want. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me be? That I don't override it, that I listen to it, that I pay attention to it. But still in self-examination, I find where that's not always true. And my biggest thing, I probably talked about this when I was here last time, because I'm not rebelling. I know what God will have me do. I just don't know how God would have me do it, is where I am. Like, I know what God will have me do. I have all of these businesses. And let's be honest, who has 3 businesses? It's just dumb. Okay, it's just dumb. And how did I get into all of this? Well, I got into all of this because I felt inadequate, because I have 0 education. I didn't go to high school. And because I wanted to prove I could, even in recovery. And then when I could, why not could some more? Because we like more. And there's nothing wrong with success. Success is good, especially on the heels of lots of things that would say you shouldn't have it. And I had lots of things in recovery, and I had lots of things before recovery that said I shouldn't be able to put two nickels together. And in a way, I'm showing off God, right? Like if somebody like me can do this, holy moly, tell me God's not big. But now it interferes with my relationship with God. And I know this because it's come to me in self-examination, prayer, and meditation. When I put the trifecta together, the magic that I get is I hear. What I haven't heard is how to stop it. I know I either have to slow down or stop. I don't know which one it is. I'm just like trying to be transparent, authentic with where I am. Because the minute I think about stopping, guess what happens? I get afraid. And so am I really going to trust God? So when I go do more prayer, meditation, and more self-examination, do I really trust God or not? And I come back to that I really do. I really do. But I have lots of people dependent on me. So it's not just about me. It's about how will they be okay, right? Because I employ them. So how will they be okay? And so how do I either replace myself, sell the business, something? So what I am doing is that we pray for intuitive thought, and then we wait. And that's the hard part, waiting. Now, while I've been waiting, my business has doubled again. I'm not kidding. And at first I thought, what the heck's going on? And then I thought maybe this will make it easier to get somebody else to take it over at some point, right? Maybe this will make it easier to do that. So am I going to trust God or not? I think talking about prayer and meditation and things like this in an authentic, transparent way is the most vulnerable that I will ever be. There is nothing more personal and nothing more intimate than my relationship with my higher power. The only thing that comes close is this self-examination, where I really look at me, not the me that I always want you to see, not the me I want you to think of me, but the me that I am, where I still hurt people, where sometimes I'm still way less than my best self. Because the only way I get closer to being who God would have me be is if I can be honest with myself and honestly with you about my fallibility and my humanity. And I always like it, like in these meetings like this, where I'm talking about God, I get emotional. I don't worry what you'll think of me, because I absolutely know that if I'm talking about God, see, I got a God shield. And if I'm willing to wake up in the morning and say, I really want to go along this route, and this is what took 30 some years to do, was to be able to do this enough times to trust that whatever this great big power thing that I can't describe, that's bigger, that I only can feel, but that what it has in mind always is better than what I have in mind. And that if I'll tap into it, if I'll trust it, everything's better. Even being this vulnerable with you. I did not come to Alcoholics Anonymous vulnerable. And I did not come to Alcoholics Anonymous talking about God or seeking God or wanting to be a better person. I don't want any of that. I want it to not hurt. I want it to stop feeling bad. And if that's all I would have gotten, honestly, it would have been good enough. But in this step, and in this self-examination, this prayer, this meditation, the real magic really happens. And it's so much better than not hurting. It's real usefulness. It's real purpose. It's real connection. But it doesn't happen if I do it once in a while. And it doesn't happen if I do a third of the trifecta. I'm from Kentucky, so trifecta is kind of, you know what I mean? It's how we describe threes, you know, it's a horse racing for anybody that didn't know. I'm trying to think if I have anything more to say about this, maybe. It talks about that this disciplines us. We let God discipline us in the simple way we've just outlined. By doing this, and if I'll follow this in the evening, self-examination, and in the morning, this prayer and meditation, whatever that needs to look like for me, it takes me out of being in charge. Because see, everywhere in my life, I'm kind of in charge. I'm the boss. And that's not always good for us. But I know who the boss is, right? I know who the boss is. And by letting God discipline me, by earnestly coming to God, laying out where I am, the decisions I have to make, because I've examined myself. The only thing that I ask for from God, because it says in this, praying only for knowledge of his will and the power to carry that out. I do ask. And I ask God to help me see what will help me be my best self that God would have me be. I want to be my best self more than anything. I want to be who God has in mind for me, because I know that that's the only time that I get to feel whole. And because of this, I feel usefully whole most of the time. I am not broken. I am not even fragments of broken anymore. And because of that, relationships that never could have healed, places where I didn't go hurt people, people hurt me, have healed because I don't need anything from the people that hurt me. And because I'm whole enough to not need them to help repair parts of me, I get to have relationships with them that are healing and whole. I don't know why I'm going off the map with this, but that is part of what comes like from doing this over and over and over for better than 35 years. Examine, and I'm not talking about perfect. I'm the most fallible recovering alcoholic that you will meet. I am so human. But I am still so much better than I was last year. Not when I got here. I'm way better than, I'm not recognizable from when I got here. I was an animal when I got here. I'm almost unrecognizable from 10 years ago, because we continue to grow along spiritual lines. And I think that that's where so many people, after a long time of sobriety, we get lonely and we get empty and we don't feel like we have peers. And it's because we think we've done it. And my biggest gift is I know I haven't. And I know I'm not there. And I know that there's so much more to grow in this relationship with God and with you. May I forever be a student. I don't ever want to know. This is sign language. No, I don't want to know. I want to discover and rediscover and rediscover. And other than, the only thing I have to know 100% is I'm an alcoholic. And if I drink, game over. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. I cannot drink with impunity. I can't do it. I drink, the drink gets me. Everything else is still being discovered for me. I like my life. Better yet, I've got scars on my wrists from major surgeries, from carving on myself in early recovery, literally trying to die. Sober. Because I was a girl that hated herself. and blamed herself for her alcoholism and the hollowness of who she had become. And I was a girl, I was no woman. And today I like me, like not arrogantly, I like who I am. I like my value system. I like that. If you stay here, you'll be able to say that too. You will. And if you stop feeling that and you get back on and we do this trifecta, we get to do it again and we get to feel it again. Because that's the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. No matter what happens outside us, around us, or anything else. Ali, I love you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful. You're my COVID gift. You are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for having me back again.